All right, let's dive right into an incredible ancient story. It's all about leadership, loyalty, and get this surprising weight of a single cup of water. So, let me ask you something. A simple question that has a really, really complicated answer. We often think about the big things, right? Freedom, country, family. But what if? What if the answer was something way more ordinary? Yep, that's right. This is the story of three legendary soldiers who risked everything. And not to win some huge battle or capture a fortress. Nope. It was to fetch a drink for their king. I know, it sounds pretty unbelievable, so let's break this whole thing down. Okay, so picture this. We're on a battlefield. Three elite soldiers, and they're about to break through the front lines of an enemy army. Their mission? It's audacious, it's reckless, and honestly, it seems kind of pointless. Their target isn't some high-value general or a key strategic position. It's a well. Just a well. The risk is pretty much certain death. And the reward? A single drink of water. So you have to ask, why on earth would anyone take that chance? Well, to get it, we've got to rewind a bit. Yeah, to really see how this all kicked off, we need to go back. Because this whole, frankly, insane mission, it doesn't start with a big royal command. It starts with a moment of weakness from one of history's most famous figures, King David. So at this point in the story, David is a king under siege. I mean, he and his army are literally cornered in a mountain fortress, totally cut off from supplies. And to make it worse, the enemy Philistine army has captured his own hometown of Bethlehem. You can just imagine it. They're exhausted, they're surrounded, and they are just desperately, desperately thirsty. And in this moment of pure desperation, David isn't really thinking like a king. He's thinking like a homesick guy. He's looking out over the enemy lines towards Bethlehem, and this nostalgic sigh just escapes his lips. It wasn't an order, not even close. It was more like a daydream he just happened to say out loud. He's just remembering the taste of home, the cool water from that well he knew as a boy. It's this wistful, almost careless comment. But his most loyal soldiers, they were listening. Now you have to understand, the people who overheard him weren't just any soldiers. No way. These were his mighty men. We're talking warriors of legendary status. One of them had supposedly taken out 800 enemies by himself. Another fought so hard for so long that his hand literally froze to the hilt of his sword. So for guys like these, the king's wish, no matter how small or offhand, was their command. Period. And just like that, we're back to the present moment. Against all odds, the three warriors are back. They did it. They fought their way through the entire enemy camp and all the way back again. So there they are, standing before David, probably battered and bruised, holding out the very water he was just daydreaming about. This should be the moment of triumph, right? The king gets his drink, the men are hailed as heroes, morale goes through the roof. At least, that's what you'd think would happen. But what David does next, this is the reason we're still telling this story thousands of years later. He looks at the cup of water, he looks at his men, and it's like everything just clicks into place for him in an instant. He has this profound realization. He sees that the cup doesn't just hold water. It holds their near-death experience. It holds their courage, their sacrifice, their very lifeblood. For him, to drink it now would be like drinking their blood. So faced with what he now sees as this incredibly sacred gift, David makes a choice that I'm sure shocked everyone there. He does something that's an act of profound humility and worship. He takes this precious water, this symbol of his men's unbelievable sacrifice, and he just pours it out on the ground. Now, hold on, he's not just wasting it. He's doing something very, very specific and deeply meaningful. What he was doing is what's known as a libation offering. It was the sacred act in ancient worship where you'd pour out a precious liquid, like wine or oil, as a gift to God. It was basically his way of saying, this is way too holy for any person to drink. This belongs to God. So you see this amazing transformation happen, right? It starts as a king's idle wish for water. That turns into an act of heroic loyalty by his men. Then the leader recognizes the true cost of that sacrifice. And finally, a human gift gets transformed into a sacred offering for God. David got it. He understood that a real leader doesn't just consume the loyalty of his people, he honors it. And this whole moment, it really contains a timeless lesson about leadership, about integrity, and about what sacrifice truly means. Think about it. By pouring out that water, David showed his men that their lives were more valuable to him than his own comfort. He took their loyalty and elevated it from just a simple service into a sacred act. I mean, what a powerful statement to make. But the story doesn't end there. And history is rarely that simple, right? Because in the very same chapter that lists these heroic warriors, right at the end of this honor roll, there is a chilling name. A name that really complicates this whole perfect picture of leadership. Uriah the Hittite. He was another one of David's most loyal soldiers. But here's the thing. Unlike the three warriors, whose sacrifice David honored, Uriah's loyalty was, well, it was consumed for the king's personal gain. David had him killed, basically to cover up an affair with Uriah's wife. So you have the story of the water, which shows David at his absolute best, and then the name Uriah, which reminds us of him at his absolute worst. It's just a stunning contrast, and it shows that even the greatest leaders can fail, and fail badly to live up to their own ideals. And all of this leaves us with a pretty challenging thought, doesn't it? The story kind of asks us to look at our own lives, to think about the sacrifices other people make for us, their time, their loyalty, their love, and it makes you wonder, what is the water in your life? Do we consume it for our own benefit, or do we, like David in his best moment, recognize it as something secret, something to be honored, something that ultimately points to a much higher purpose?